Chapter 1. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Be very selective with what you give a F about. What most of the self-help advice we get on life does is help us fixate on what we lack. They pinpoint the things we see as our personal failure and shortcomings and emphasize them for us. If you don't have enough money, you learn the best way to make money. If you feel you're not beautiful enough, you stand in front of the mirror and repeat affirmations that you're beautiful. Society keeps telling us to be more, and more positive all the time. And to be positive all the time, we are constantly getting the same message again and again, which is to give a fuck about everything, again and again. Sadly, giving more fuck doesn't guarantee you to be positive and live a better life. The key to living a happy and healthy life isn't giving a fuck about more, it's giving a fuck about less. Giving a fuck about only what is truly important. As humans, we care too much about things that don't matter, and this does nothing but make us feel bad about ourselves. The author calls this the feedback loop from hell. Simply put, you feel a certain feeling for some reason or no obvious reason at all, and having this feeling makes you feel even worse. The solution to the feedback loop from hell is simple. Don't give a fuck about your negative experiences, anxiety, anger, guilt, fear, etc. Because it's okay having these feelings. It's okay to feel bad sometimes. Beating yourself up for feeling the way you feel will only make things worse. Maturity is about being able to only care about things that are essential. This simplification actually makes us really happy on a consistent basis. In the coming sections of this summary, you will learn to be comfortable with being different, how to be calm in the face of adversity, and how to be highly selective with what you give a fuck about. Chapter 2. Happiness comes from solving problems. Our assumptions and beliefs in life are underlined by a premise that happiness is algorithmic, that it can be worked for and earned and achieved. This premise is a big problem because happiness isn't a solvable equation. Sadness, dissatisfaction, unease, etc. are part of inherent human nature, and they are the necessary component to create consistent happiness. Truth is, happiness is a form of action. It's an activity, not something that is passively given to you. Not something that you miraculously discover in a self-help book. We are enamored with the idea that there's a form of ultimate happiness that can be attained, that we can alleviate all of our sufferings permanently. But in actuality, we cannot. For us to be happy, we need something to solve. Happiness requires struggle, and it comes from solving problems. Happiness is a constant work in progress. True happiness occurs only when you find the problems you enjoy having and enjoy solving. We all want the good things in life. Everyone wants to feel good all the time. People never consider the pain they are okay with, what they are willing to struggle for. We just want the rewards, the results. Nobody's willing to go through the process. Most of us don't want to struggle and to give it some effort. Struggle is the key to happiness, and it grows from problems. On your journey towards happiness, you'll encounter many disappointments and shame. No matter where you go, there are tons of problems waiting for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. The point isn't to run from the problems. The point is to find the problem you enjoy solving. Chapter 3. No one is special or exceptional in any way. Developing high self-esteem, feeling good and positive about oneself, came in vogue in the 1960s. A study showed that people who thought highly of themselves caused fewer problems and excel in life. Suddenly, there were tons of motivational speakers everywhere telling people that they can be exceptional and massively successful. A generation later, researchers have come to a simple conclusion based on years of data. We're not all exceptional. As it turns out, there is absolutely no point in feeling good about yourself if you have no reason to do so. Adversity and failure are useful. They are essential for developing successful and strong-minded adults. People with high self-esteem usually feel great about themselves. They feel they're doing something exceptional, even when they are not. Mark Manson. The major downside of the high self-esteem movement that has taken root in our society is that it requires us to feel good all the time. This movement uses a metric that is based on how positive people feel and think about themselves, whereas more accurate metrics would be how people feel, think, and accept their negative selves. The most important step toward solving your problems is to accept that you and your problems are not privileged in their severity or pain. The high self-esteem movement is telling us to feel special all the time. Everyone says it. Celebrities, politicians, famous people, actors, and actresses all say it. Being average has now become the new standard of failure. Many people are afraid to accept mediocrity because they believe that they'll never achieve anything, never improve, and that their life won't matter if they accept it. The truth, however, is that knowledge and acceptance of your own mundane existence will actually free you to accomplish what you truly wish to accomplish, without judgment or grand expectations. So instead of seeing mediocrity as a bad thing you need to avoid, be grateful and appreciate the small things in life. Chapter 4. Don't build your life around useless causes. Focus only on important values. As humans, we often choose to dedicate large portions of our lives to seemingly useless or destructive causes. Sometimes we know deep down that we're going to suffer because of what we're doing, but we still do it anyway. The reason for this is that suffering means something to us, and because it means something, we are able to endure and perhaps enjoy the suffering. Whether you like it or not, suffering is an inevitable part of life. Of course, you could try to avoid them, but one sure fact is that avoiding negative things will always backfire. So instead of avoiding negative things, accept and face them. Instead of asking questions like, how do I stop suffering? Ask yourself this: why am I suffering? For what purpose? However, this isn't an easy question to answer. According to Manson, to understand ourselves, we must first understand a metaphor called the self-awareness onion. Self-awareness, like an onion, has multiple layers to it, and the more you peel them back, the more you are probably going to start crying at inappropriate times. The first layer of this onion is a simple awareness of your own emotion. How do I feel? What is this emotion? I'm sad. I feel happy right now. I'm sad when I see that, etc. This is simple to some people, but to some, it is quite hard. Sometimes you try to deny your feelings. The second layer is the ability to ask why we feel certain emotions. Why do I feel that way? Why am I sad? Why am I kind of depressed? Our personal values make up the third layer. Why do I see this as a success or failure? How am I choosing to measure myself? With what metrics am I judging myself and everyone around me? This level takes constant questioning and effort, and it is very difficult to reach. But it's the most essential, because the nature of our problems is determined by our values, and the quality of our lives is determined by the nature of our problems. Clearly, it is vital to know your values, because in the end, they determine the quality of your life. You have to change what you value and how you measure failure and success if you want to change how you see your problems. Did you know? Denying negativity is like perpetuating problems instead of solving them. It is all right to not be optimistic all the time. Negative emotions are a vital element of emotional health. Chapter 5. Take radical responsibility for your life and embrace uncertainty. That's how you'll enjoy growth and progress. There is a simple realization that all personal improvement and growth stem from. This is the realization we are each responsible for everything in our lives, regardless of the external circumstances. We can only improve ourselves if we come to the realization that we are responsible for everything in our lives. No matter the circumstances, it's your responsibility. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's always your responsibility because you can decide what you make of the situation. There's a difference between blaming other people for your situation and those people actually being responsible for the situation. No one else is ever liable for your situations but you. Your unhappiness might be entirely because of other people's fault, but no one is ever responsible for your misery but you. The reason is that you always get to decide how you see things, how you react to them, how you value them. You always get to choose the standard by which to measure your experiences. Often, the only difference between a problem being painful or being powerful is a sense that we chose it and that we are responsible for it. Manson. Also, embrace doubt and uncertainty because certainty is the enemy of growth. Instead of striving for certainty, you should be in constant search of doubt. Doubt about your own beliefs, doubt about your feelings, doubt about what the future may hold for you unless you get out there and create it for yourself. Instead of trying to be right all the time, you should be trying to find out how we're wrong all the time, because we are. All progress and all growth stem from uncertainty. People who believe they know everything never learn anything. To learn something, we must first admit that we are clueless. The more we accept the fact that we don't know, the more opportunities we get to learn. Embracing uncertainty is a vital step toward assessing our prioritizations and values. In the end, if we want to change those values, we need to become uncertain about them. Asking yourself questions like, what if I'm wrong? What would it mean to be wrong? Would being wrong make my current problem better or worse for both myself and others? Will help you be a little less certain about yourself. Chapter 6. The Success Paradox. Failure is the way forward. Improvement at anything is based on many tiny failures, and the size of your success is based on the number of times you failed at something. There's a popular saying that talent is overrated. Yes, it's overrated. Success is less about your preconditions and more about the work you put into something. To be truly successful at something, you must be willing to fail at doing it. If we're not willing to fail, then we're not willing to succeed. When a child is learning to walk, the child will fall down and hurt itself hundreds of times, but the child will never give up and stop trying. Failure and discomfort are a part of the process. You will definitely have to fail many times if you want to succeed at something. As we grow older, we develop an avoidance of failure. This basically has to do with our education system, overbearing and critical parents, and with mass media. This avoidance of failure creates avoidance of the vital actions to succeed at things. Mark Manson suggests setting process-oriented goals, taking action with his do something principle. When he was in high school, his math teacher used to say, if you're stuck on a problem, don't just sit around thinking about it. Just start working on it. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, the simple act of working on it will ultimately cause the right ideas to show up in your head. By applying this advice, Mark Manson discovered that action isn't just the effect of motivation. It's also the cause of it. In fact, it also has something to do with inspiration. Your actions generate further emotional reactions and motivations and move on to inspire your future actions. So if you ever feel you lack the motivation to do something, just start with some small actions. Anything works fine. And try to observe the results of your actions. You could then try to reap the fruit of those actions to motivate yourself. Chapter 7. Reject things that don't add value to your life and contemplate your mortality. Rejection is an essential life skill. It improves your life because it lets you focus on things that really matter and let go of things that don't. If we don't reject something, we stand for nothing. When you make a commitment to something, you're essentially saying no to something else. Saying no doesn't tie you down. It frees you from paltriness so you can focus on what's most significant. To build healthy relationships, for instance, both parties must be able to say no to trivialities, make time to sort out their differences, establish their boundaries, and take responsibility for their own problems. Only then can genuine trust and acceptance be established. Also, it's important we contemplate our immortality from time to time in order to really live life to the fullest, happy and fulfilled. We often avoid thinking about death, talking about it, and sometimes even acknowledging it, because it scares us. Yet, in a weird, backwards way, death is the light by which the shadow of all life's meaning is gauged. Without death, everything would feel insignificant, all experience arbitrary, all metrics and values suddenly nothing. Reflecting deeply on death from time to time helps us to put our problems into context and to appreciate life. If you fear death, or you are busy making sure that people remember you after you're gone, you won't be able to live fully. If you've confronted your mortality, however, you can accept your life as a passing grain in the universe's timelessness, and can focus on contributing to a wider cause that will outlive you. Then you'll find true peace and happiness, and become free to live each day to the fullest. Conclusion. The trending mantra in our society is always to be positive no matter the circumstances. This constant chant of positivity unwittingly teaches us to always give a fuck about everything. Sadly, giving more fuck doesn't guarantee that you'll be happier and live a better life. If you want to live a healthier and more content life, you have to start giving a fuck about only what is truly important and nothing else. We care too much about things that don't matter, and this does nothing but make us feel bad about ourselves. We feel a certain feeling or emotion for some reason or no obvious reason at all. And having this feeling makes us feel even worse. The key to getting out of this loop is to stop giving a fuck about our negative emotions like anxiety, anger, guilt, fear, etc. Because it's okay to have these feelings. It's normal to feel bad sometimes. Beating yourself up for having certain emotions will do you no good. In essence, maturity is about being able to only care about essential things. This simplification actually brings us genuine happiness. We try to do too much in life, and this only results in stress and grief. We all need to learn to stop giving a fuck about the things that are causing us pain. Choose to focus on what you really want to care about and develop a more constructive approach to work, love, and life itself. Try this. Start saying no to things that don't add value to your life. If you want to focus your time and energy on the things that matter to you, it is essential to say no to everything else. It is more important to miss out on trivial things than important ones. So make it a goal to only focus on the essentials and ignore everything else. Be totally ruthless with this.